am here to speak about donating items to the museum, why it matters, what items we do accept, and how to donate, and especially the impacts that they create to the museum. A little background information on the museum. We too are centrally located. We're just off the Blatchford Field redevelopment. We have over 30 odd aircraft within the hangar itself that are on display, as well as several aircraft outside. Some of them are on pedestals. Our mandate is to preserve and share Blatchford's aviation stories and shine a spotlight on Edmonton as a window to the world. We've all heard of the term gateway to the north. Well, there's a reason for it. At one point, Blatchford Airfield was one of the busiest during the World War, and massive numbers of aircraft were funneled through during the ferrying through the Northwest staging route. So that airfield was at one point the oldest. Unfortunately, now that it's closed, it's being redeveloped, and we want to be a part of that. We run a very big and very busy programming schedule at the museum. We have between the educational classes, the tours, the day camps, the week-long summer camps, evening lates for adults. We also have a 14,000 square foot rental hall space for markets, trade shows, and we've had everything in there, including mud wrestling many years ago, and combines that will actually fill the space completely. There is nothing that we haven't had in that building at this point in time. On top of that, we've had wedding receptions, anniversaries, as well as a variety of other community-driven events. Why donate to the museum? These are just a few basic reasons. Everybody has their own personal reason. One main reason would be that we would have, if no one donated anything to any of the museums, no history, no record of what happened, no record of whether it was good or bad. And if they have no record, then we run the risk of either repeating negative events or not repeating the ones that are or did advance society and the events of the world. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why each individual donates to museums. The types of donations that we accept. These are just general categories. We will accept a multitude of things. Now, I also want you to understand that while each category, there's a lot of individual options within them, there are a few segments within them that we cannot or will not accept simply because of either space constraints or the capacity in order to maintain them in an integral way, such as Matt had described about climate-controlled temperatures, dryness in the air, all of that can impede or affect a museum piece remarkably. I do have a handout that we typically give to people that do make inquiries as we would like to make a donation to the museum. I have my grandfather's medal collection, I have whatever. To ease that, we have created one-page, basically, handouts that give more information as to how to donate, what we're looking for, and what we do and do not accept. We had to break it down regarding donating artifacts and donating books. When it comes to artifacts, it's kind of cut and dry as to what exactly we can and cannot accept, simply because of space constraints. You will notice on the back of the sheet that we have for this, anything that's in green, we're very eager to look at. Please reach out. Our first point of contact is contacting the curator. As with Matt's organization, we do not accept just dump it off at the front desk or oh, I'm calling and here you go, you're just getting it kind of thing. When I first started working at the museum as an employee in 2012, quite often by the time I would get to the front door, there would be boxes stacked up against the front door, and they were very adamant that they wanted the museum to have it because it was right in front of the door. I couldn't get into the building without having to move it all in order to get inside. So, and unfortunately, we just can't accept everything. It's nice to have everybody's combat uniform or their dress, their DUs. but I can't support storing 75 copies of it. So there are some things that we have a lot of that we have to say no to. On that note, though, there are some things that if we can't take it, we are very much adamant in offering up other museums that might be able to help them, or another organization that might take their donation. So we have an artifact donation segment and we have a book donation segment. The reason why we segregated it out is because it became too much for our collections department. So our library services basically handles all donations when it comes to books and magazines and journals and stuff like that. Quite often, if you want to donate to either the books, a book or an artifact, the first thing you will be asked is what specifically is it that you would like to donate, and then you'll be referred to that path, be it the librarian or our curator. Next, it will be basically an email back and forth with pictures, but much like what Matt was describing, in order for us to do our due diligence to make sure that we are the place that you would need or that you should put your precious artifact, we need to make sure that we're the good fit. We have had instances as we're going through our artifacts in the collection. For one instance, we have the 418 Squadron has a tablecloth that has a multitude of signatures from the squadron at that time period. It was a celebratory type of event that it was done at, and so they've preserved it. We, as the museum collections, have stated that it's just not the best climate controlled for it. We are in a 1943 hangar made out of wood that was only expected the last 7 years. So these kinds of constraints can actually impede or harm the artifact. So if we're going to take something in, we want to make sure that it is something that we can handle. We have now, that artifact, the tablecloth, will be going to, I believe, Ottawa, and we have a replacement one that has been made. So we still have a replica of the artifact, but it's one that it's not going to get damaged or harmed in the same sense of what the original tablecloth will. So those are some of the things that we do when it comes to having artifacts or items donated to the museum. Next slide. Matt had talked about provenance and relevance as to whether or not it fits for the museum. The curator and the librarian will also go through that. Now, the only thing with the librarian, many people think that if it's aviation and it's a magazine, they'll want it, they'll take it. We're looking at older documents when it comes to aviation magazines and journals and stuff like that. So when he goes through it, as part of the library accepting of the artifact, one of the options that we do offer, we have a gift shop. If there is something that is a magazine subscription or whatever it is that they would like to donate to the museum that we can't necessarily want, but they really do not want anymore, we do give them the option that we can take it in, but it will be used as a sales item in our gift shop, so that much like a used bookstore. Books come in, people have read them, they don't want to read them anymore, so they want to donate them back. That way we can sell them, and then we can pursue other activities, or we can buy additional library supplies or whatever. So that is an option with the donation of books and those kinds of artifacts. When it comes to donating, the first thing that my front desk staff will do, because most people will either call in or they'll come to the front desk, and sometimes they're carrying whatever it is they want to donate. And my front desk staff have, much like Matt's, they cannot accept anything, but they will provide you the document, they will provide you a letter, and they will also provide you a card for either the curator or the librarian, asking them to reach out to either one, whichever one's specific to, and have them reach out to them. This is where we'll want more information regarding the artifact, whether we want the ownership's history, background history of the artifact, if it's an artifact, manuals, all that type of thing. We want to get as much information as possible. The key thing for our museum is we want to tell the story. People love looking at aircraft, and that's wonderful. But I know that as our museum, we've gone away from the pilot, plane, and plaque. Most people just sort of look and keep going. We want the full meal deal. We want the history. We want the feeling that you get when you look at it. When you look at it in a full dioramic, this is part of the information why we require this is part of the information that we require when we have donations come in. Once they've gone through the process with the curator or the librarian, we will accept the art, and we're accepting the artifact. It's then brought back to the main office or the archives restoration room. The process of cataloging and researching and documenting and the labeling proceeds. The curator will also decide as to whether or not it will directly go out on the floor in a gallery piece, or whether it will go into our archival storage. If we have to go out and get the item, we will. It'll all just be dependent on what the item is, or whether or not that person can bring the item to the museum itself. As you've heard before, when it comes to speaking about donations, most people, it's not so much the tax implication is what they're looking for. They just want to have their piece of the story or their item particular to them kept. They want it to be their legacy. Unfortunately, there's a lot that we end up not getting, and how I know this is it's these dump and runs. I've actually had volunteers come to me with a shopping bag full of photographs that they found at the dump. Typically, you're not supposed to take things out of the dump, but when this one particular volunteer went to get rid of some items from his home, he found a bunch of photo albums that were tossed in the tip. And when he started looking at them a little closer, when the personnel that were manning the station at the dump at the time turned, he scooped a bunch of them up and stuck them in his vehicle. These were pictures, black and white, of what may. One of them was at a boat launch. Another one was like a camping type of scenario. These were all black and white. We don't know if anybody else had these copies of anything. And when we did, put out a public, hey, if anybody knows about these photographs, can you please reach out to us? We want to find out more information and more about the stories behind them. More and more, we're seeing stuff that's not coming, or we're not seeing it. We're hearing of stuff not coming into museums. They don't want to, there's no interest in it, so they just get rid of it. A lot of it is happening that way, and we need to try and get into those homes that people have all of these wonderful records and these stories. We would like them instead. So at this point, some artifacts that do come in, they do qualify for a tax receipt. Now, as Matt had stated, there are CRA rules that you have to follow, and you need to make sure that you follow them to the nth degree, because CRA is very particular as to how you want to appraise, how you appraise, and what the value number is. And you need to have the documentation to follow up with that and to back it up. Much as Matt had stated, when it comes to preparing an item for a donation, we would like them semi-cleaned up a bit if it's possible. If it has to be transported, or if it has to be mailed or delivered or couriered over, please make sure they're packaged in something fairly sturdy so it's not going to get damaged in delivery. These are just simple rule of thumb items that if you're going to bring them in or if you're going to have them shipped, please make sure that you have all the documentation with them. I know that we will require all the documentation we possibly can get on whatever the item is or the artifact is. And then you will also, as the donor, you will receive all these copies as well, just to ensure that both you have the copies of everything and we will have the copies as well. I can't emphasize enough, please reach out before you just show up with your artifact or your item. It's not that we don't want it, we just need to make sure that we can accept it and we can take care of it in the manner in which you would want it to be taken care of. Please reach out to either the curator or the librarian. I do have copies of the sheets for if it's one or the other. Most people, when it comes to donating artifacts, it's pretty simple. It's very clear and laid out. When it comes to aircraft, that is a completely different story. It still falls under accepting an artifact. Unfortunately, though, it's a much larger artifact, and now there's a lot more parameters that has to be regarded first. I have now had many people call in for, do you accept this kind of aircraft, and do you accept this kind of? I would love to take them all. Unfortunately, I am confined by the fence line, which is not that far from the building, so I'm kind of tight on space. That doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want it, but it might be used in maybe a trade with another museum that wants to unload something different, but they will take the one that we've just been approached with. So there are different ways that we can do it. We just need to make sure that we have that conversation first. The impact of the donations. We touched on this when we chatted about the why. Our museum started with one aircraft in 1992. That's all we had. We had basically a 100,000 square foot building and one aircraft, and the aircraft wasn't even complete. It was basically the fuselage and a few wing pieces at that point. But with a lot of passion and a lot of people that saw something that they wanted to create, it has now been created into a classy aviation museum. Through the hard work and dedication and a multitude of donated artifacts, aircrafts, books, journals, videos, tools, equipment, we've now created a space that preserves history. We have now research requests, tour requests, schools requesting history information. The impact is huge. In order to create this is the end result of donations. Now, this is only a portion of our museum. There's still another sort of side and the back end of it, and that's not including the outside as well. We are still building and we are still growing. The impact of donations is huge. Thank you for allowing me to share this. Thanks.